inform you of something. This traffic study is detrimental to what is going on right now. For the simple reason is that in this traffic study, it states that many signs are missing. And there are signs in place which do not meet NECD standards. The signs that are missing are advanced notification signs in the school zone, and school zones in all northbound, southbound, westbound, and eastbound lanes. Well, I won't make it long, but let me just tell you right now. On November 13th, 2015, I spoke to the engineer from Gilbane, and it's the town's responsibility that these signs got to be erected, not the state's. The state can erect them, but it's the town's responsibility to get the state to do it. On November 16th, I'll skip that, because I know you'll block at that. All right, this is a good one. Let me just tell you right now, at the present time, there are a total of 17 signs that are missing on Providence Pike in Greenville Road. I won't name them, but I will tell you, I've got all the locations where they should be and which ones are erected. I'd also like to point out some discrepancies in the placement of a few signs. The 40-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on the shoulder in front of house number 1929 Providence Pike needs to be moved and placed after the 300-foot end school zone buffer. Currently, the sign is erected directly opposite the end property line of the school athletic field. And this area is supposed to be 30 miles an hour due to it being a school zone. All right, and this is right next to the rotary. Keep in mind that all the new signs. All right, I would suggest, and I'd like to bring to your attention that the 30-mile-an-hour signs which are located on Providence Pike in front of the middle school and athletic field needs to have the time limits removed. The reason being is that the speed limit of 30 miles an hour is only enforced during certain hours. All right, here's something that no one took into consideration. What happens when school is only in session for a half a day? The current posted speed restriction signs do not apply between 8 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Yet you have kids crossing streets midday. Let's face it, motorists will be doing way above the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in a school zone where there are children trying to cross the road or getting out of school. Just to show you that signs do not work, hence the yield sign in one of these right-of-ways, on Tuesday, November 10th at 3 p.m., I stood in the crosswalk at the entrance exit from the middle school driveway on Providence Pike. I was amazed to see out of 17 cars that were traveling northbound and southbound on Providence Pike, only one of these cars stopped to let me cross the street while I was standing in the crosswalk. I can't blame the police department because they've got their hands full, but there's a law, 31-18-3, that they're supposed to let people standing in a crosswalk cross and have the right of way. Back on August 15th, 2011, 3 months after the Public Safety Director received the final copy of traffic study report, is when I, along with 3 town council members, received an email from her stating the following, and I quote, "We anticipate the signs will be in before the start of school. The work order is complete and the process of being approved. We are in touch with DOT maintenance section to get it scheduled. I will keep you all updated." Guess what? Even to this day, 53 months later, I'm still waiting to be updated on the progress of these signs. Is this what you call accountability by the Public Safety Director, who this was brought to her attention through this traffic study?
Excuse me, how many times are we going to go through this? There are other people waiting to speak. If he has a problem with me, I would gladly ask him to come to my office. We'll sit down, we'll talk about it. And we can come back and put this on the agenda, even better, and have another public hearing about me and Mr. Filato.
Any more information I can give concerning the rotary? Or roundabout?
No, I'd like to, since I'm here right now, could we put it on an agenda so that I be heard regarding this traffic study?
Mr. President, man, Mr. Pilato, I want to thank you for the research you've done on this. This has been an issue you've been following since 2009, and I share a lot of your concerns.
And you've been involved with it back in 2009 as well.
Yep. And so I do appreciate your work on this. I would just like to say that I think the council is moving in the direction to let other people speak. Thank you for what you've done.
Councilman Sullivan?
Mr. Floro, would those sign locations be available to us?
Yeah, they are. However, since it's just a, you know, it's like an, they are, Mr. Sully.
Thank you.
Can you make them available? When I follow up, can you get a copy of the town clerk so we can have them?
But the signs have nothing to do with you at this, public hearing.
I didn't disagree with your comment about public safety. This whole meeting tonight, regardless, it goes without statement, it's about public safety. When you talk about a traffic circular, or a roundabout, or a rotary in front of schools, it's about public safety. So I agree with you on that comment. So if you'd be kind enough, if you could give a copy of the locations and what types of signs need to be installed 53 months later, I would certainly like to take a look at it.
Well, I'd also like to, since I'm here right now, I'd like to have it put on the agenda or call for another public hearing that I can be heard for this entire traffic study because it affects everybody who lives in this town, North Smithfield. All right, and if these people are going to turn around and allow these school bus drivers to be doing 50 miles an hour past our houses, all right, and even like Mr. Goodwin's going to come up here and speak, all right, there's somebody that goes by him in a white pickup truck when he's going out for coffee in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's going by him doing around 70 miles an hour on Providence Pike. That's going to stop. And I can't blame the police department because the police department they don't have the manpower.
Mr. President,
Mr. Flato.
can we move on to other people who wish to speak?
Mr. Flato, the traffic study you said was what, 2011?
That's correct.
2011. Madam Clerk, can we schedule something for in February?
And while I'm here, Mr. President, could you possibly do this? It's like, since I know you've got the jurisdiction, ask the police chief or this officer that you can end up getting, I would like to know how many speeding tickets were written since 2011, since that traffic study that came out, 2011, right to February of 2016.
Can we move on, Mr. President?
We have so you said February 4th?
February 1st and February 15th.
February 1st?
February 19th, February 1st, what else?
February 1st.
February
19th or 1st?
Some of those 15th are already in meeting,
Oh, 15th.
unless the 15th is a holiday. I know there's a holiday somewhere in there, but
Yeah, either one. Let's just schedule
the
it.
1st or the 15th.
Okay, well, February 1st.
Okay.
Mr. Flato, we put on February 1st, dealing with that traffic study.
All right, thank you.
Directed to DOT, is there an updated traffic study of the area, so we're not looking at data that's 5 years old?
There have been a number of studies, and the study of 2011, I believe, was a speed limit study on Providence Pike. That was the last time that we did the speed study out there. We did the roundabout study, was the recent one, that was 2015. Those are our two latest studies out here. But if I could just, he mentioned a lot of items in there, a lot of them regarding DOT as well. But I think it's important to add that after that 2011 study, when they did establish the school zones, that we did go out and put those signs up. I'm not sure why he's saying the signs weren't installed. And then beyond that, signs get hit all the time. where if we're not aware of it, we don't know that they're down. A lot of times the police will, when they respond to an accident, call our traffic management center, tell them sign down, and it gets into our system, and our maintenance people do try and get those signs put up as soon as possible. But
Mr.
there
President, I'd like to call to the attention of 2 crosswalk signs up by the elementary school. There are crosswalk signs, no crosswalks in the road.
Mr. Valano, we'll discuss it, the traffic study in February.
First,
February 1st.
I speak.
No, I think it was
Mr. Gertz.
Mr. Gritton was next.
Thank you. This is my first time on any of this sign-up sheet. Tony Burton, 8 Country Way. I just have a question for the DOT. Is there any data or a study in relation to the installation of a roundabout in proximity to a high school? And my concern is you have a lot of new drivers, 16 and 17-year-old kids driving for the first time. And I'm going to have to think that they're going to be a little confused by this, especially since it's not common, there's not a lot in the state. So I'd like you to think about that, and I'm wondering if there's any information in that regard.
I'm not aware of any studies, we can certainly check one, but the key thing that goes along with that, and the key thing that we keep pushing, that the safety benefit of this roundabout is if a young driver gets into a crash in a roundabout, it should be a fender bender. It shouldn't be, it's not going to be, whereas if a young driver comes out and thinks that it goes yellow, red, green instead of green, yellow, red, and they go through, they're not going to get broadsided at by someone going 40, as Mr. Florida said, 48, 50 miles an hour on the Providence Pike. That's the real benefit, is that if there's a mistake in a roundabout, it's going to be a fender bender. It's very rarely going to result in a very serious injury. So the fact that there are 16, 17, 18-year-olds confused as they go through the roundabout for the first time, it's not going to be a serious injury. That's one of the big selling points of it. But we can look into to see if there are any studies of them. I'm sure there must be, because they are popping up around the country. There's got to be a community that put one in their high school for speed control.
Mr. Sims?
Paul Source, Sales Hill Road. I don't have any statistics to quote. I'm not an engineer, but I'm going to give you my experience with roundabouts from the perspective of someone who was in outside sales for 42 years. And I've logged probably 1.5 million miles in southern New England. I've seen a few roundabouts. I think they're terrible. They cause confusion, bordering on chaos at certain times. People don't know how to use them, they hesitate, they cause accidents, or a lot of near accidents. There's one in Middleborough, Massachusetts, which is particularly difficult, and I had to drive through that once a week for 42 years. And it was a horror show. I think roundabouts cause more problems than they will solve. I don't think you have that big a problem at this location that you should even consider it. And the safety issue, to put this next to a school, I think is outrageous. You got kids that are going to be walking across these streets. It's a big safety issue, and I think they're far more safe walking when there's red lights to stop the traffic than when people are trying to work their way through a roundabout, not knowing who seems to have the right of way. I think you must have some experience with roundabouts, maybe not as much as I have, but, and the other thing, think about kids today. They get their nose in their tablets or phones or electronic devices constantly. On the news the other night, they're talking about people walking onto train tracks and falling off of cliffs. Somebody died recently with their nose in their phone. You're going to have kids crossing the street here that don't pay attention as it is. I think you're going to have real problems if you put a roundabout here. You're not going to solve any problem. You're not gonna make it safer, you're gonna make it more dangerous. That's my humble opinion.
If you'd like to speak, you just form a line towards the podium. Yes, sir.
Steve Byron, 2000 Providence Pike. I have a number of questions for the gentleman from DOT. I've been here so long, so I might have forgot the date, but the 6 crashes that you mentioned, was it the last 4 years or 8 years? If you could bring, so of the 6 crashes, do you have statistics to say how many of them were traffic light related? It's like someone went through a traffic light?
So in other words, if, yeah, if you want to bring the crashes up, but if somebody's going north of
It's
Providence,
11, it's 11 crashes.
right, and I think 6 of them were correctable, but it might not be.
But you don't have the statistics to say whether someone went through a traffic light.
Right, so if you see those crashes, so if you're
Yeah.
going north of Providence Pike making a left and you get hit by someone going south, you both have the green, so that's not an issue with traffic light, but that would be solved by a roundabout.
Okay. Now, you also, going back to the picture of the next slide, I believe, you talked about statistics from 2004 from the Federal Transportation. Those statistics are 15 years old, 2000, I think it was, yeah, 2001. They're 15 years old statistics that you're going to use today. The next slide, you also have about that one there, about carbon monoxide, 2004. Can we all agree in the last 11 years, cars got better as far as emission controls? So that study doesn't hold water either. That's an 11-year-old study about vehicles that are not even on the roads anymore. So that study that you're giving doesn't make sense. That photo there of, you talked about the crosswalks for the kids, that the kids were only going to have to look one way, you said. Well, that's the way it is now with a traffic light, and when they have a traffic light and it says walk or don't walk, they don't have to look at any traffic. All they have to look is which way they're walking, because if the traffic is going in the direction that they're walking across, they only have to look at one way until they get to the other side, halfway through the street, just like that. So there's no difference as far as a person walking through that way or through a traffic light. The traffic light, they have walk or don't walk, so it's actually a safer than that area.
But this has an island in the middle, so if you get halfway across.
But what about the person who's coming, say, from south and heading north, and they're going to take the right-hand turn, and the person's not at that safety zone? They're coming around that corner, they're going to hit that person.
But that would happen if they were crossing at the signal too.
Well, no, because then the person would be going through a red light.
Right, I'll make the right on red,
Okay.
right.
As far as, yeah, the other thing is, how would you, I don't know if this holds true at all intersections. I thought now there was a thing you have to put handicap ramps. Because we have them at the end of 116, and when you get off, you walk into the woods. How would you put handicap ramps, and how would a person in a wheelchair cross that?
Yes, there would be all the crosswalks, the end of the, the end of, as we were referring to earlier, there are sidewalks that connect these wheelchair ramps.
Okay.
Right here, and at these, the end of each crosswalk would have wheelchair ramps.
There'd be no signals for them to cross safely.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I disagree with cross safely, but there will be no signals.
The rumor has it that there's also a proposal to put a roundabout at Carpenter's Corner, and from what I saw in the paper this week, at the end of Branch Pike and Route 7 in front of New England Stone. Those 3 locations, coincidentally, are all the ways that employees from Fidelity travel. How is that such a coincidence that of all the sites that we're looking at, those are the 3 sites that employees from Fidelity travel?
Yeah, they,
So this is, like Mr. Filato said, this is all for the benefit of people that we don't get any tax dollars from, that use our roads, that come from out of state. So we're doing this for them. When we have more of a safety issue of doing Greenville Road over, we're going to spend $1.4 million. And I also saw a comment that it was also for energy saving, that we wouldn't have to pay for the electricity to run the light. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I think we can also buy a lot of electricity for $1.4 million. Well, I'd like to know what it would cost for 1 year to run a traffic light in it, so we can take that comment off the table. Yeah, sure.
You weren't letting me answer,
Yeah,
I
well,
couldn't find the answer, but which question do you want me to answer first?
Whatever one you want to take.
Give him some room, Steve, give him some room so you can get to the microphone.
So, give me, you threw out about 10 questions.
Okay, the traffic light, the electricity, the energy saving.
Yeah, I think it might be on the order of $600 a year. It's,
Very minimal.
yeah, but if I could just, I'm glad you brought up the funding, because that's something that we did want to mention. The procedure for, and I think a little further on today, is the town's looking at the TIP, Transportation Improvement Program. That's run through statewide planning. That's how things get funded through RIDOT. That's where RIDOT gets its plan from, to go out and build roads and bridges and so forth. The State Traffic Commission approval, we have line items in the TIP for every year, because we know there's going to be town councils, police chiefs, senators, reps, mayors that are going to request certain improvements from the State Traffic Commission. That when they get approved, they get sent to our section to start beginning an improvement. So it's something that we have money set aside to build the State Traffic Commission approvals. If we decide not to do this, that money just goes to the next bunch that are in the State Traffic Commission approval. It's not a grant to the town to decide where they want to spend the money that's going to be built for this roundabout. So I just wanted to clarify the funding on that, because there was a little discrepancy regarding if it's worth it, if there's benefits to just taking it somewhere else, and that's not an option that we have for the
The 15-year study.
Yeah, the 15-year study, those are two studies we picked. The importance is, I think it's just the fact of the emissions. You know that if you stop at a light, you're burning emissions, whereas if you just go through, that's why you have better gas
But
mileage.
the statistics you have are 11 years old.
Oh, right, absolutely. But I mean, I think I don't think you're going to find that even with more efficient cars, that you burn less fuel at a traffic light than you do if you're going through it. You know, that doesn't sound peaceful.
We don't get a lot of, I would agree with you if we had heavy tractor trailers coming through that area. I don't see too many tractor trailers that go through that. They would be the ones that would be the biggest culprit of the emissions.
Those are the biggest, but it's the same way that when you buy the sticker on the car, you're getting better mileage on the highway in the city,
Yeah.
because you're losing emissions of gas when you stop at lights and start up and slow down and so forth. That's just how it is. That's just how it is.
Also, I believe at least 90% of the other roundabouts that you showed that's around the state, I think there was maybe one that was actually an intersection. Every other one was a three-way. So I don't know how you can compare a three-way with a complete intersection. Because it's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
Like the one at Twin Rivers. That's very easy, like we were talking about, when they were talking about the kids. It's easy to know that if you're going to go straight down Twin River Road, you can just make that turn, but you're not going to be able to do that here.
Actually, the Twin River was the first roundabout we put in the center. And that one was pretty easy. I believe there was already an island, so we just made some modifications to make it more of a roundabout. But Twin River was the first, in my mind, real roundabout we put in.
Do you know what the traffic count was in Centerdale versus this?
If I had to guess, I'd say Centerdale is probably higher.
Oh, I would say maybe 3 or 4 times higher.
Well, I wouldn't maybe find out that much. But the fact that I was getting at is Twin River, like you talk about with the high school people getting used to it. Twin River, there's a lot of people that were going to Twin River and they were just confused. And that was the learning curve. At the start, there were certainly people out there that when we put that in, it was confusing. But as you get used to it and people learn how to drive roundabouts, which is going to happen throughout the state because they're getting more and more.
Would you agree that you're talking, this whole project is maybe 2.5 hours a day? There would be benefit, if this was beneficial, it would be for 2.5 hours a day.
I totally disagree. Because if you're talking about congestion, maybe, but the safety would be 24/7. The speeds that Mr. Florida was talking about on Route 5, that's going to be, people aren't going to drive through here at 45, 48 miles an hour. They're going to drive through here at 25 miles an hour. If I don't live in town, but if my kid was crossing from the middle school to over here, I'd rather have a car going at 25 miles an hour through a roundabout than coming down the road at 48 miles an hour. That's it, gross.
Well, just further south of that area, there was an instance a number of years ago where a car was cutting into the parking lot and a kid got seriously hurt.
Right, well, I mean, that won't change no matter what kind of traffic.
No, so we're here for safety. We're not here for just one intersection. We're here for the whole safety matter.
Right, but I mean, where our project is addressing this intersection.
I have one more comment that I'd like to make, and it's in regards to the football field or the athletic complex. One question that's been bugging me is when the high school teams play, there is no parking on either side of Providence Pike. But when the youth programs use the complex, cars park everywhere. And my understanding is there really isn't any parking on the state road. There shouldn't be any parking on the state road.
I'm not sure. Are there signs?
Well, no, there isn't.
No,
But, I mean, we see cars that park over the white line, and we have buses that come out, and like Mr. Flores said, people go by there fast, but it's a very, very serious safety issue when their youth teams use that athletic complex because cars park on both sides of Providence Pike. But when the high school teams they put no parking signs, they post no parking signs. So that's a safety issue I think that also should be looked at, and I thank you for your time.
Mr. Byron, were you on council when the town got sued, there was a pedestrian that stepped out between parked vehicles over there?
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes,
So, yeah, it's a dangerous situation when you park on the roads.
thank you.
Next, please.
Nancy Dowdy, Providence Pike. Couple things, on the Twin River roundabout, how many accidents have been recorded there since it was put in?
I don't have the number for that, but it's very low. No serious. I don't think we've had serious crashes there.
Is it lower than what we've had in Smithfield in the last 8 years at our performance? I would be surprised.
That I don't have.
And it's also a three-way, not a four-way, like Mr. Byron said. I also concur with a lot of what Mr. Falato said earlier in his speaking. It's Mr. Girton. I would just like to take what he said a step further, Father. I was that was wrong. Approximate graduation count in Smithfield High School is 115 students a year. That means there are 115 16-year-olds a year getting their license. If you take 75% of that, it's still roughly 85 kids that are getting their license and trying to do that roundabout. I wouldn't want that on my shoulders.
Good evening, Gary Zofsky, 88 North Main Street. Start by saying I certainly don't oppose the technique of rotaries. I was amazed a year and a half ago to be in Ottawa to watch a 4-lane, essentially an interstate highway, come down into 2 or 3 consecutive rotaries, becoming city streets, and just traffic flowing and pretty easy to maneuver. That said, I think we're drawing conclusions that I don't know if anything has ever been done in the way of origin and destination studies on this intersection, but the traffic that is coming through that intersection, I would suggest to you, is not just Bryant or Fidelity. It's people that are avoiding the intersection at Sales Hill Road. That's the problem. We've got thousands of cars that are coming this way at the times that you're focused because of a bigger problem that we really should be focusing our attention on. And as a state where we've got no money to fix bridges, I look at the idea that we would spend $1 million here and saying our priorities are twisted. I'm sorry, can it work? I'm sure you can make it work. A properly designed rotary might be a better way to move traffic through this intersection. I suggest to you that the money you would spend here would be better placed at other locations, including, most particularly for North Smithfield, Sales Hill Road, that is the cause of a lot of the frustration that you have at this interchange. Thank you.
Bob Goodwin, 1993 Providence Pike. They say they want to minimize the emissions on that, right? Well, go up to Bryant College right now. They just changed all the lights for the favor of fidelity. You come northbound on Route 7 at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. You got to stop at Bryant College, head northbound, while the arrow is green to turn into fidelity when there's nobody there. You got to sit there at least 2 or 3 minutes before that light will change. They just did that about 2 weeks ago. The other question I have is, where's the land coming from?
It's all state land, actually.
It's all state land?
You see, these are the state property lines.
How far up the Center Road does the state own?
We own a lot, yeah.
I don't care how much a lot is, but how much is how much? 100 feet?
No, it's not that much.
100 feet, so it's 50 feet from the center of the line.
Yeah. So you can see the property line right here.
And that's gonna be enough for like tractor trailers and stuff to make that circle?
Yeah, this middle part, the green part of the circle is like landscaping. What this is called a truck apron. So it's, and they usually put it different color so that it discourages cars from using it, but it's mountable for tractor trailers to actually make a left turn or go over it like that.
Yeah. So you're not gonna take land from nobody, put this in?
If anything, it would be an easement as we're building things. Like it's a little tight over here, we might need an easement from the town, but as of right now, I don't think we have.
Because on three sides of that intersection, the agricultural land,
Yeah.
you can't touch it, not in the state of Rhode Island.
No, and that's a good point, and that's what made this a project worth looking at as well. Is if it was real tight, we'd have a lot of issues. We, with acquiring property, and it wouldn't be worthwhile to look at this intersection and the amount of traffic we're having at it. The fact that the state owns most of the property makes it ideal.
I don't think there's anybody probably in here that uses that intersection more than what I do. And if I go down to that intersection at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm the first one at that red light, and you got Fidelity coming down, making their left-hand turns onto Providence Pike, they'll run the red light on it. So what makes them want to stop and yield on a runabout? They're not going to do it.
Well,
They will not stop at the red light. They'll come right at you.
I mean, that's an enforcement thing. We can't, it's hard to, I mean, if people are running red lights, there's nothing we can do at DOT sitting at the desk.
Well, the runabout's going to make it worse.
No,
Now they don't have to stop.
I disagree with you, because roundabout, you'll be right here, the people going left would have to come around like that, and they're going 25 miles an hour. It'd be a lot easier to pull into traffic at 25, but, and a couple of the things mentioned, I know this, this is done for Fidelity. Fidelity didn't have any.
It's funny because I was told by somebody in Fidelity 4 years ago that this was going in between here and the one for Tony Ramos's up at New England Stone. They knew about it 4 to 5 years ago. So I know it favors Fidelity. I don't care what you
But
say.
that's usually, I'm not sure where they came with that information, but and the other thing is outside of Fidelity, that's part of the project, and actually we had to put new loops in, the loops aren't in yet, and that's why you're getting that delay.
Wouldn't it be just as simple just to put a left lane in there with a green light and that'd be the end of it? Try that once. See if that works. If it don't work,
well, that's why we're here. If we think we're presenting what is, we own the land, it was approved by the State Traffic Commission, it was determined that this is an improvement, it's going to slow speeds down. The study that from 2011, the big thing was speed around the schools. This is going to slow that down. There's no way people can go through here at 45 miles an hour. That's what we see as the benefit to this area, is that every direction is going to have to slow down when they go through this intersection. That's our benefit. But that's why we're here at the council. We don't want to make an improvement that the town's not in favor of, and that's quite honestly why we're here, is just to get that buy-in from the town.
President? Steve?
Yep.
How you holding up? Everything okay?
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad that I found out about the water in the back. That was.
You know, can you get to the slide of the pros and cons? I think one of them said aesthetics.
Right, the aesthetics is, you know, it's,
Definition of aesthetics, because I may be looking at this totally differently. When that bullet was chosen, that one word aesthetics, what does that mean to Rhode Island Public Transportation Engineers?
yeah, that means, again, we have, if you go around, like if you're in a historic district, let's say, we end up through a Rhode Island Historical Preservation Commission. If we put in a signal, they want us to put up black decorative, make it look prettier. This isn't a historic district. The poles out here are old steel poles, urban type looking material. A roundabout, you get rid of the poles, you get rid of the lights. Now you have the center is landscaped, you know, whether it's a tree or, you know, or whatever were to be the focal point of what's in the roundabout. It just makes it look more appealing to.
And offer my opinion on aesthetics, to me it's about looks.
Right.
Coming into those crossroads, which have been there for decades, probably hundreds of years, wagon crossroads. To me, the aesthetics, this is the town of North Smithfield, not the city of North Providence. And I think the aesthetics from a four-way intersection to me is more appealing when I think aesthetic. This impervious material with lanes and passing, I don't see it as being aesthetic. Back on October 19th, I asked the question, can the town of North Smithfield say no to this? And we really didn't get a definitive answer. But tonight, I'm hearing from the residents of North Smithfield that they don't want it, unless there's somebody in the audience that truly wants it. I haven't heard that this evening. So, can the town of North Smithfield say no to RIDOT, and maybe these funds can be better utilized? Mr. Zofsky said it, it was one of the things I was going to say. Gary's always ahead of me. But anyway, is this being forced on the town of North Smithfield?
It's not.
Okay.
This is, again, the request originated from the town. We looked at it, we agreed, and again, things change, councils change, you know, and again, the other side of it is nobody really knows what it's going to look like. So now we're at the 30% stage showing you, all right, as Mr. Goodwin was saying, all right, where's the property lines? Like now we have a better picture of what it's going to look like, and the town can say, whoa, 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 that's not what we had in mind for this intersection, and that's fine. But we do want to get to that point sooner than later. We don't want to be getting ready to advertise it and then find out that, you know, the town absolutely doesn't want it, and, you know. So that's why we're here. We're here we're presenting our case of why we think it's a good idea. And again, the town can see fit to say, you know, thanks, but no thanks, and we'll be fine. The one thing I would say, again, this isn't a grant we're not building this with grant money to the town to say, all right, don't do this and do that. But if there are improvements, and we're looking at the intersection at Bridgedos as well for a roundabout. That came from our meeting with the police chief and deputy fire chief. Was how about that intersection? So we're going to look at that. That is going to be tighter. That's a smaller intersection than this. We're going to take a good look at it, see if it fits, see if capacity-wise it'll work, and that might be, you know, a couple of years down the road, coming back to confirm that that's if it was doable, that the town wants to go ahead with that as well. So we are. Safety's number one with us. You know, we just want to make it safe. If we have the land to make an improvement, you know, serious crashes are very random. We're getting away from like targeting specific curves and making general curves. Like we have projects that go around measuring curves, whether there's crashes there or not. And just because the systemic nature of it, if there's a tight curve, sometime, somewhere, someone might take it to too high a speed. So we're trying to address things in a proactive manner as opposed to strictly going by number of crashes at certain locations. So.
Steve, if I may express to you some of the comments I've heard from residents of the town of North Smithfield. Some of the comments, all roads lead to Fidelity, the Fidelity Freeway, and Fidelity Circle. That got me thinking about how Fidelity came to be in Rhode Island. it was very contentious. Eminent domain, they took farmland that was in families for decades, they took it to build the campus. It was a $25 million bond. It was 2.5 million debt services was to be paid on that. The state of Rhode Island issued a $2,000 credit for every job created beyond 1,000 employees at Smithfield location. I don't know how that turned out, but I do know that Fidelity transferred 1,100 jobs to New Hampshire and to Rhode Island. How many jobs were actually created, I don't know. But the town of North Smithfield is feeling the impact of that traffic. So, I'm hearing, Mr. President, if I may address the audience, if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of it, now would be the time. If anybody has a positive thought about it.
Mr. Rapko?
Mike Rapko, 25 Old Greenville Road. I live at the intersection of 146 and Greenville Road, so I see all the Fidelity traffic coming around. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. They're there in the morning, they're there at night. By bringing up the issue of the roundabout, it's bringing up good issues about traffic is traveling too fast, both on Providence Pike and Greenville Road. If we didn't have this proposal, we never would have brought up the issue of people speeding on Providence Pike and Greenville Road. I mean, there's a multitude of issues. It's not just the Fidelity traffic, it's the material and sand and gravel trucks. I mean, those trucks are hauling on Greenville Road. And I'm more cautious about those trucks coming down the road than I am worried about the Fidelity traffic. I mean, you have a lot of old 10-wheel trucks up and down that highway, Greenville Road, going from 146 to the cement plant, back and forth all day during the, and those trucks are dangerous, and they don't stop. So I think it's good that, I mean, maybe people are against the proposal, but maybe we should be looking at how do we solve the issue of the traffic flow on Providence Pike and Greenville Road to slow down the traffic. Maybe we need a discussion with Fidelity and Material Sand and Gravel and get some of their executives to talk to their employees as though they should be slowing down, you know, both coming and going from work at Fidelity. And the same is true of Material Sand and Gravel. We don't have a large enough police force to put patrol cars on both roads to ticket speeders. I mean, I think we're stuck. I mean, maybe the roundabout is not the best solution, but if you travel throughout the country or in Europe, roundabouts are everywhere in Europe. I mean, that is the solution for rural areas in Europe. If you travel in England, you're going to go through roundabouts. You're going to get lost, and you're going to keep going around and around. And it's fun because, I mean, it's a way that you don't know where you're going. It's not. This is not the problem here. Everyone knows where they're going. They're going to come down Greenville Road, take a left onto Providence Pike, or they're going to come down Providence Pike and take a right on Greenville Road. So it's not an issue of lost tourists. It's an issue of high traffic volumes and how do we reduce the speed. So that's the question maybe for DOT is how do we reduce the speed on Greenville Road and Providence Pike so no one gets hurt. Maybe this is one alternative. Are there any other alternatives that we need to look at to slow down the traffic? Thank you.
Mr. Rapko, I think basically that, you know, you're dealing with, it is a traffic issue. There is a speeding issue, so therefore it's a law enforcement issue. I don't care if the state police have to come out of Woonsocket to help us, because that's where they train. So, I mean, it's, and also our chief, to try to stem the tide. I'm not sure what they're getting for speeding tickets these days, but I'm sure it must be around $100. So, I mean, if you put a hurt on people who want to speed, they're going to pay. And if it has to be during the peak hours, maybe that's something that this council can look at and maybe direct the town administrator to, who's the public safety director, to initiate. But you know, I'm very concerned because I've seen that traffic coming, you know, barreling down Providence Pike. And I'll tell you, I know if I lived on Providence Pike, I'd be quite concerned because I would hate to see something happen that someone would get injured or get killed. And especially when you're approaching, and besides too, I mean, you also have the elementary school on the further part up the road. So you have 3 schools in a short distance.
But it's not just Providence Pike. We gotta talk about Greenville Road.
And Greenville Road as well.
You know, we have residents of Greenville Road, you can't even walk onto the road to pick up your trash barrel without getting hit. And people that have to put out their recycle bins, they have to be very cautious about putting their bins on the side of the road in Greenville Road. Because there's no buffer on Greenville Road. It's a crown road, it's very narrow, and it's very high speed. And there's a lot of curves. So it's not just Providence Pike, it's Greenville Road too. So you got a problem from the 146 interchange all the way past the elementary school. That's where the problem is. So if we're gonna address a solution, I'd like to see the solution go for Providence Pike and for the Greenville Road section. Both sections should be addressed.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this proposed roundabout?
Mr. Rapco was in favor.
Does anyone else like to speak?
Mr. President, as a matter of procedure, this was a public hearing. Is it one public hearing? It's not like we're changing an ordinance. One public hearing is enough for this?
It's sufficient.
Sufficient.
It's really, unless there's gonna be changes or modifications, then you gotta keep the public hearing open. If you think there's gonna be any kind of modification.
Yeah, from our standpoint, if the clerk sent us a letter saying the town council is in favor or not in favor, we'll know to either commence, continue design or shelve the design. I think that's fine with us. We didn't even ask for a public hearing. We just want we put it in the council's hands as being the elected officials.
Mr. President, after hearing the public get up and speak, I'd like to make a motion to thank Rhode Island Department of Transportation for the 30% design build over there. I don't think this is the appropriate time for a rotary at that location, but I would also incorporate into this motion that we ask them if they look into the intersection over by Bridgetto's Market for safety issues. So in essence, my motion is going to be that we say no to the rotary. Roundabout, excuse me.
Motion by Councilman Zawinski, second by Councilwoman Alves. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Thank you.